It's finally Friday. KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. I don't know about you, but it has been a long-ass week for me. I know I can't be alone. I can't be the only one thinking that this week felt like 15 days long as opposed to the customary 5. I would have settled for it feeling just like 8 days, but 15? It was much too much. And then I remembered I was inspired, and I hate to admit this. I was inspired by one Mark Ronner.
Oh, no.
What?
Oh, no.
Mark inspired me when he said that he saw Thank God It's Friday. It got me thinking about the soundtrack. I remarked last night that I love disco music. And here's something else you may not know. Rob Archer, who used to work here as a news anchor, before he was a news anchor, he was a music DJ. He was working over at KBIG. And you wouldn't know this, Mark, because you weren't living in California at the time. But Rob used to do this show on KBIG called Disco Saturday Night. It was fabulous. It was fantastic. He was just playing disco music. Ran like, it was the early 2000s. I think it started like maybe late 90s, early 2000s. And it was a show that I loved. And I never got to tell him. I need to call him and just tell him how much I loved it. But I'm going to take a page out of his book. I always believe in attribution. So tonight, the bumpers are going to be in acknowledgement of my love of disco music. It's going to be a Friday night party all night long. The inspiration came from Mark Ronner. So if you don't like it, you get to blame Mark Ronner.
Oh, no. What's not to love? This is great. And I was tickled to death to discover this movie that somehow I had never seen my whole life.
Yes, there are movies out there, good movies, meaningful movies, significant movies that you have not seen as of yet. But I hear that there's a heat wave coming.
You are exactly right, and thank you for that, by the way.
Did it feel good?
It always does. I'm looking for this specific article that I had lined up to go into it. But
I got your back. Here we go.
It is August. We know that this is one of our hottest months, if not the hottest month overall. So to get hot weather, we're not surprised, but it's already in the 70s. San Bernardino. So it is a really warm start to the day, and we'll only see temperatures get hotter today. High pressure sitting right where high pressure does the most damage, right over the four corners. So
right
this
over
gives
it.
This big circulation. It takes all of this air, pushes it out towards the coast, and it's going to dive about 5, 7, 8,000 feet in elevation as it goes from some of our local mountains down to the ocean, and descending air warms up. Descending air that moves through canyons.
Sometimes the weather people make it too damn complicated. Just give me the temperature. Give me the precipitation. Let me know where I can and can't walk outside before I turn into, I don't know, a puddle of mess.
Yeah, a big metaphor pile up in whatever that guy just said. One of the things that I pulled says over 100 million Americans are under heat warnings and advisories across the U.S. And we know here it's a little hotter today than it was yesterday, and it's going to be a little hotter tomorrow, and it's going to stay that way until at least next Tuesday. So forget about wearing pants for the next few days.
Well, what about underwear?
You're on your own. I can't control whether or not you wear panties or which day of the week is on them. That's up to you.
You're passing out suggestions here, so I thought I would get all the information.
I'm just following your lead, as always, Mo.
Okay, well, we have to talk about the weather, of course, and later on today, we got to talk about Hollywood. There's another strike. This time it's video game actors. They've hit the picket line over AI concerns. So that's another chapter in the AI book. And somebody told 7-Eleven that pumpkin spice Slurpees were a thing. They're not a thing. I don't know who the hell decided to introduce that to 7-Eleven. Maybe they're trying to use that as a deterrent so they won't get robbed. I don't know.
Offensive.
It's delicious.
You're kidding, right?
What?
Pumpkin spice Slurpees?
Is he serious, Mark?
He's just.
I love all things.
He's being adversarial here on purpose.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Okay.
No one likes pumpkin spice. They had like pumpkin spice pancakes at Denny's not too long ago. I think it's going to be the next wave of food where everything has to have a pumpkin spice flavor.
If I went to Starbucks, I would go just for their pumpkin spice coffee.
But you don't go to Starbucks, so that'll tell you that you don't want
other places
spice.
for pumpkin spice. I go to 7-Eleven for their pumpkin spice flavored coffee.
So you find yourself just jonesing for some pumpkin spice throughout the day?
I do. I look forward to this period when pumpkin spice comes back.
You sicken me.
How does pumpkin spice translate to a Slurpee?
Hey, okay, look, it's coming up later. Okay.
Maybe I might just change my mind and not talk about it at all. There's not too much to say. It's nasty. Who in their right mind makes a pumpkin spice Slurpee?
Look, they have a lot of things coming to 7-Eleven. International items that are becoming to help.
Armed robberies are coming?
No, the food.
Food.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
It's broadening the palette of 7-Eleven customers beyond the hot dogs and chimichangas and things.
Okay, all right. When we come back, we'll talk about Hollywood striking video game actors and how, once again, AI has turned the entertainment industry upside down. It's later with Mo Kelly, KFI AM 640 live everywhere in the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And as I was driving in, the studio is in Burbank. So if there is a strike in Burbank, it's kind of hard to miss it, especially if it should be outside of Warner Brothers, which is literally just right around the corner from us. Well, hundreds of video game performers were picketing outside Warner Brothers studios yesterday and today. And this large demonstration has been, I'll say, escalating since voting to strike last week. The contract talks, as I read, are hung up on the issue of AI. And this is Duncan Crabtree Ireland, National Executive Director of the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, SAG-AFTRA. Duncan had this to say, quote, "I think what scares our members about AI is the possibility that their image, their voice, their likeness is going to be taken and used without their consent, without compensation, that their careers could just go away because of AI." Close quote. There are 2 points in that, and I want to address both of them, but separately. First, Duncan says that the possibility that actors' image, voice, and likeness is going to be taken and used without their consent, without compensation. That's one issue, and that's a legitimate issue. And I think protecting NIL, name, image, and likeness, that is something that they can contractually prevent. Like if I were doing some voice work for a video game, you can't use my face, you can't use my voice, you can't use my likeness if I'm like a video game character without my consent and without duly compensating me with respect to contractual obligations. But that's different from protecting the future of jobs. Let me put it in music industry terms. We can say, hey, you can't use The Weeknd's voice or an approximation of that. You can't use Drake's voice and create music that sounds like Drake, sounds like The Weeknd, which has been done, and then try to sell it. Okay, because you can protect against the use of someone's name, image, and likeness, someone's voice. You can copyright all those things. You can protect against that. But I'm not so sure you can protect against AI just creating music and then some company selling it. My point is, I don't think you can stop the computerized revolution of anything. And I would say that although AI is happening at a much quicker rate, much faster rate than anyone can even understand or comprehend, the world is changing immediately. But I think there is a parallel. If you think about just within the entertainment industry, 1970s, 1980s, it was all practical effects for the most part, early part of the 1980s. Then you had CGI come on the scene in earnest. And you had these computer-generated images, which put a lot of practical special effects artists out of business. A lot. We had talked to Fawn Davis about it. And although it took a lot of people to, let's say, do a movie like Star Wars from practical effects, you could do it for a lot less money, hire fewer people when you had computer-generated imagery. And you had a lot of engineers who lost their jobs in other fields because of like computer-aided design. And we saw over the years, a lot of those jobs just went away and they didn't come back to any large degree. I think the same thing is going to happen here. You can protect the actors individually and collectively. You can protect them from their voices, their faces, their movements from being used without their permission. but I don't know if you can protect them from losing jobs, which can be done now by AI.
There's an individual that follows us, and he sent me just last week an AI created video. It's a car commercial, bunch of beautiful women washing cars, scantily clad, all that. And not a single image in this ad is an actual person. These are all digital creations. And at first glance, it looks like actual people. Therein is the point that you are making. Yes, you can protect existing actors and background actors and all types of jobs while studios need them. But Tyler Perry has just gone on record and said, I am axing an entire expansion for my studio in Atlanta because the cost can be saved with this one AI app that I was just introduced to.
We have legitimate filmmakers who are creating films on an iPhone. We have legitimate filmmakers who can create a film on their iPhone and not have to really hire anyone because of AI to star in it. You can't stop a creator from utilizing AI. That is not going to happen. And I understand why people are striking, because they want to be able to protect their profession as best they can. We know the actors went through this last year, and while they were on strike, I know what the goal is here. I just don't know long term whether it's realistic or even being feasible, because even though you may have it written into the SAG-AFTRA agreement that you can't use AI, or you can't use AI connected to these individuals or in this sort of way or that sort of way, they will still do an end run around, because you can't tell people how they're going to create, because people are just going to create.
Yeah. And this was Guido. Guido's the one that, since I would like to give props where we can.
No, I get that.
But to me, this is a question, and I look at Mark with what you just created with this recent video game. If AI would have allowed the creators of the video game to just plot out characters and background scenes and things like that, would the production of the video game, in your opinion, have gone faster if you just said, hey, give me everything I need, I'll write it out, and zip, zam, boom?
Well, everything's faster and easier when you cheat, and that's what AI is. I mean, we have to regulate the living daylights out of this stuff before it puts more people out of work. And
I disagree.
Well, let me finish this thought, and then you're welcome to. You got to remember that nobody's asking for this stuff. Normal people don't want this, and it's being forced on us by people who don't just stand to profit. They stand to increase their profits by not paying humans to do their work and their art, okay? AI can't function without stealing from people who have worked hard to put stuff out in the world. If you just take a blank AI of any sort and you say create something, it can't function without input from people who have already done the work, okay? So I think, Mo, you're trying to compare this to stuff like, well, the whale oil industry or something that is doomed to go out of fashion one way or the other. Art's not like that.
I'm going to use your own argument against you.
How dare you?
If only because you have long said that, yes, AI cannot create. Hollywood as an entity has never been able to create. They've always stolen from actual creators, people who've submitted ideas, and Hollywood has taken it. Hollywood will always look for a way to not pay someone. That isn't new.
Well, of course, but it's not either or. I mean, all that can be going on at once.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is this is just the latest iteration of that. And I respect how you're making a moral argument as to why AI can't create anything, we're not asking for it. No, Hollywood is asking for it. They are begging for it. Why? Because they can do what they do for less and make more money. There was a big story which dropped today in which Google had to pull their ad talking about the Gemini AI. We talked about it with Marsha Collier last night. An article in Deadline today. Google pulled that ad because all of the backlash about it, because in the ad it's saying it's letting a child write a letter to an Olympian for her as opposed to the child writing it herself. And I think that kind of codifies our debate. It embodies our debate. Here's how. Because we, the public, don't want AI, but corporate America absolutely wants AI in the way that fast foods corporations want automation.
Of course, because all they care about is their bottom line. But
see, you're making an emotional argument. Yes, that's the whole point, Mark. They only care about their bottom line. Correct.
Right. And so people like you and I have more cares than just that, and it's up to us to push back against something that just on its face is not right.
It may not be right, but it doesn't change the dynamic of the motivation and how they're going to proceed. And yes, AI, just say we agree, AI is the devil, okay? But the bottom line is the devil can make money for corporations.
Let me put it this way. You know why there is a minimum wage? It's the same reason there's an age of consent in most states. It's because if some people could go lower, they would. Okay?
Right.
And
I agree.
And so that's why we need regulations.
We're not disagreeing. You're making a value judgment argument saying this is what it should be. I'm just telling you how it is.
So you're just going to lie down and accept it without fighting back?
It's just not about lying down.
Thank you, Twala.
It is bringing this story to light is to let people know that this is happening. Now, you can either support these video game companies, you can support these film companies and go and see these films, or you can sit at home and wait for, regular Joe and his crew of 10 people going out and doing things by hand and doing it the old-fashioned way. Okay. If that's the way it's going to be, then that's the way it's going to be. If you have to only support things that say human-made, well, then that's the world we're going to be in.
Yeah, when you say the old-fashioned way, you mean the real way.
That's there are a lot of phone operators. There are a lot of traffic signal operators. There are a lot of elevator operators who don't exist. Those jobs don't exist anymore. I'm saying this is the next example of jobs which won't exist in the future.
Well, as a writer and otherwise, I'm also a voice actor, and so I had to pass up on a couple auditions this week because I knew what was coming down the pipe with the strike. I feel like it's my job to resist this with every fiber of my being. And I can tell you right now, people know the difference. If you watch something that was generated by an AI and not an actual artist, writer, human,
I don't know.
It's inferior in quality.
It may be, but I don't think people are as the lay general public fans care as much as you, the creator, does. We got all these AI Instagram accounts and people are following them, knowing good and damn well that they're AI and not real. They don't care. I think you care more than they do.
Yeah.
Well, I clearly do, and we're out of time to debate it. So I'll let you table this for now.
We'll table it until later.
Yep.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
Last segment, Mark Ronner and I and Twala Sharp, we were engaged in a very, very pointed debate about the use of AI as it relates to the video game industry and those actors who are on strike right now. I mean, literally right now, right around the corner from this studio in front of Warner Brothers Studios. Just to quickly recap, I was making the argument that we may not like what AI is doing, but as a function of corporate greed, if there's an opportunity for corporations, which includes Hollywood studios, includes individuals who are able to minimize the cost of creating whatever they're going to create and not have to hire an actual person to do it, they're going to do it. I made the parallel to fast food and how that is always moving in the direction of automation. Mark Ronner, I don't want to speak for you. How would you best recap your argument?
Oh, geez. Well, this AI is to be resisted at all costs because nobody wants it, and it's being forced on us by people who want to profit by stealing from actual living human artists.
And we had some people who were listening to the show, friends of the show. I don't know if Twala, you want to use the person's name, but I know this person is a very prominent businessman.
He is a very, very prominent businessman, business owner. He owns a delicious franchise here in Southern California.
A lot of them.
A lot of them. And one thing he added to the conversation is we keep saying that all the business cares about is the bottom line, but we're missing the point about all the customer cares about is how much they have to pay. And I think that absolutely has to be put forward when you're thinking about all of these cuts. It's like we can say it's corporate greed, but as a business, if you are a business owner, you are trying to save as much money as you possibly can and increase your bottom line or your profit as much as you can. That is the point of going into business. These are not altruistic companies. These are businesses that are in the point of making money. If AI can allow me to get a product out cheaper and I can pass that savings down to the customer, guess what the customer is going to care about? The savings. They don't care about how the meat is made. They don't care about what's in the hot dog. They care about how much the hot dog costs. And AI can make a better hot dog faster, easier, and without worrying about another wage increase next year.
Wait, but is it a better quality hot dog? No, and nobody cares.
No, because it's still a hot dog.
And it costs less. That's why people go to 7-Eleven to get those hot dogs.
No, I like this. I want you to know how much I admire your tube steak based arguments here.
You did not say tube steak.
Yeah, no, you're doing great. If this were a class, I'd give you both an A+ just based on your sausage based line of reasoning.
Look,
I will
our
admit,
meat packing analogy was great.
No, no, A+. Of course, corporations are not altruistic, but hand in hand with that, the corollary to that is that they also have no concept of the word enough. There's no such thing. The word enough is almost anti-American at this point. Mm-hmm. So there's no point at which decency or concern for human beings or artists or anything comes into play when you're talking about a corporation. There's no such thing as enough. It's always as much as humanly possible, regardless of the consequences, until somebody pumps the brakes for them. That's how things work in the United States.
We agree. So why would corporations change because a new shiny thing comes along, which further enables them to be even more greedy?
The difference between us is that you say it's inevitable, might as well get used to it, can't fight it. And I'm saying, no, we must fight it because this back and forth is how things get hashed out in the United States.
Well, if you look at the long view of history, you never won.
Yeah, that's pretty true.
Because you've always looked at automation, computerization, artificial intelligence is the latest form of that. We've always moved in the direction of minimizing employees, trying to decrease wages, maximize profits. The only thing that's different now is the date on the calendar.
So we might as well just hook people up like they're in the Matrix, and then after they've their usefulness is finished, just make Soylent Green out of them.
No. Economies evolve. Workforce, labor force evolves. I was trying to use other examples of, the elevator operator, the traffic light operator. Those jobs don't exist anymore. The long distance operator. Economies evolve. Jobs evolve. And even though they may go away, there will be other jobs which will come into the labor force. All I'm saying is these jobs can be replaced. These jobs will be replaced.
Okay, but we're talking about art here in the context of the strike. And think about the movies or books or comics or music that you've loved. No way I can do that.
They can't. You're correct. We agree.
They can produce inferior copies of it.
We agree.
Amalgamations of it.
And have you noticed that Hollywood, when they churns out movies, they're not trying to really churn out classics all the time. Sometimes they're just churning out content like horror movies that you happen to love for $3 million and it's garbage, but it will make $35 million.
Right. And one role of a critic is as a consumer protection is as much as it's an art, letting you know what stuff's garbage that you may want to avoid, getting you the most informed point of view that you can have going into a situation.
But do they produce less garbage because of that?
Well, I mean, it's a constant back and forth that never ends. My question to you is, if you knew that a movie was completely generated by AI, would you put your money down and go to it willingly?
Let me answer that question completely. If I knew, streaming and going to a movie theater aside, if I knew that I could see a AI generated movie for $2-3 as opposed, and it comes out to something like a really, really, really bad Marvel movie, or I could instead pay $20 for an authentic Marvel movie with Robert Downey Jr. and all those other people in it, I would pay for the $2-3 movie.
I bet you would. And I tell you, I think The Marvels was one of those.
One more point is, in the way that we look at streaming, and you may watch Tubi, there's a lot of stuff on Tubi which is just god awful. But it's what, Mark? It's free.
Okay.
But I'm saying we call and we cultivate our viewing habits a lot of times around what is more financially feasible.
Well, as a cheapskate, I completely relate to what you're talking about, but I also don't want to just have a steady diet of garbage, whether it's food or art.
Yeah, but you would still vie with saving money more than paying through the nose for something high quality and man-made.
No, you got.
Well, in other words, you're saying yes, you eat hot dogs on occasion. 7-Eleven hot dogs.
No, I will occasionally get the $1.50 Costco hot dog, and that's all I'm willing to say at this point.
Okay.
Or this line of tube state questioning is finished. We got to do the news.
Okay. KFI AM 640 live everywhere on the iHeartRadio app.
You're listening to Later with Mo Kelly on demand from KFI AM 640.
And yes, 7-Eleven is a recurring subject on the show for any number of reasons, for its robberies and now for its Pumpkin Spice Slurpees. Who in their right mind thought that this was a good idea? Somebody should have said no in the marketing meeting. But Slurpees, inspired by the so-called iconic flavors of fall, are now available at 2 different 7-Eleven stores in Los Angeles. You know, they want to make it seem like it's a thing and it's limited availability, create some sort of demand for it. As of yesterday, one 7-Eleven store in Westlake and another in El Sereno are selling the exclusive, that's what they want to call it, exclusive Pumpkin Spice Slurpee. While they last, the 2 stores are among only 5 locations around the country where the new Slurpee can be found because nobody wants to sell it. If it were that big a deal, they would be clamoring to sell it.
That's not true. I'm trying to tell you, people want the pumpkin spice. Pumpkin spice as a flavor by itself is delicious. When
yes, it
7-Eleven rolled out their pumpkin spice coffee, I was in there every morning to get it.
Coffee makes sense.
A Slurpee
does not.
It does. They have a pumpkin spice ice cream, pumpkin spice pie. The pumpkin spice is delicious. Even pumpkin spice bathroom spray. Delicious.
I would be curious to at least try it one time.
Of course you would, because you're American.
What does his citizenship have to do with anything?
Because pumpkin spice is a delicious red-blooded American treat.
Well, I'm an American too, and I'm not.
Then
any
go
less,
try it.
And I'm not any less
go
of
try
a
it.
patriot.
Go
because
try it.
I think that there's something fundamentally wrong.
I don't
with
know.
Pumpkin spice as a Slurpee.
That sounds like some commie type criticism.
Let me ask you this:
yes,
if this isn't wrong, is there a flavor which is invariably wrong as a Slurpee flavor?
I wouldn't like it, but I could see them potentially rolling out a pomegranate flavored Slurpee. I don't like.
But I
like
could see that because that's at least a fruit flavor.
Yes, and pumpkin spice is a sweet flavor.
No,
pomegranate sounds good. You're insane.
Yeah,
what?
Pomegranate sounds much more believable.
Can you have vodka with it?
You possibly could, and they do roll out eggnog.
Oh,
eggnog.
hells no!
What?
Hells
You're
no!
anti-eggnog too?
I don't drink eggnog, and I'm damn sure not going to drink it as part of a Slurpee.
I see. Okay, you just don't like good stuff. 7-Eleven is too much good stuff.
That's
not
AM
for
PM.
You. Oh,
I go to AM PM. That's why I don't go to 7-Eleven because they don't get robbed there, and they don't sell this so-called
this
abominations.
Joyous.
What?
Pumpkin spice is joyous.
Too much good stuff.
That's AM PM, baby. That's not 7-Eleven.
Well, thank heaven for 7-Eleven and their pumpkin spice.
Yeah, whatever, dude. Ain't nobody thanking 7-Eleven for nothing.
I think they are.
Who's thanking 7-Eleven for that junk?
Oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven.
Mark, would you try it?
No, and I think JD Vance was wrong on the childless cat ladies thing. But if he went after people who dig pumpkin spice, I think he'd really be on something.
And I don't mind pumpkin spice in and of itself.
I will bring some in for you to try.
It's not
you will
appropriate
not.
everywhere, okay?
It's delicious.
See, I wouldn't want pumpkin spice in my drinks, like my soft drinks. Coffee's not a soft drink. I would not want pumpkin spice in my sodas.
That is.
I don't want it in my Slurpees.
Liquid is liquid. What are you talking about? It's not a drink just because it's coffee.
Would you put it in your milk?
Pumpkin spice?
Yeah.
They probably have pumpkin spice flavored drinks, which are creamy, delicious drinks.
I know they have creamers for sure of that flavor.
Oh, you know what? And I actually get it. Yes, I get that at Target when it is in season.
See?
Thank you, Foosh.
Doesn't make
with
you
your
right.
pumpkin spice self.
Now I'm on Mark's team. How did that happen in one segment? We're back to being on the same side.
I think being against pumpkin spice can unite people across all sorts of divides.
There's something really wrong with anyone who's going to get a pumpkin spice Slurpee.
Oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven. Oh, thank heaven. Oh, thank heaven for 7-Eleven.
Before we get out of here, got to remind you from Dawn Patrol to Sunset Sessions, the U.S. Open is summer here in Southern California. The Lexus U.S. Open of Surfing, presented by Pacifico, returns to the Huntington Beach Pier tomorrow through Sunday. Enjoy music on the beach, food, shopping, and more. Visit worldsurfleague.com and Eventbrite for all the details. So we'll see you on the sand this weekend. KFI AM 640. We're live everywhere, the iHeartRadio app.
Phone, car radio, smart toaster. We don't care how you listen, just that you do.
KFI.
And KOST HD2.
Los Angeles, Orange County.
Live.